Hello everyone, I'm Hunter and welcome to Smash Character What-Ifs, the series where I make a moveset for characters and ask what if they were in Smash Bros. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Tricky the Clown from the Madness Combat series. Now look, I know Tricky didn't originate from a video game, but I love this lad so much and I really want to do my best to make a moveset for him. But before we begin, let's get into the history of Tricky and Madness Combat as a whole. Madness Combat is an internet flash series that started on Newgrounds all the way back in 2002, and that's nearly 20 years ago, which is insane. Madness Combat is a series about, well, madness. We follow our protagonist Hank on a journey to defeat the sheriff, but as time moves on he keeps getting reset and brought back to life after dying many times. There is a lot of fighting and gore in this series, so viewer discretion advised. I won't go too further into detail in case any of you guys wanted to watch it. And now for Tricky. Tricky is one of the main antagonists of Madness Combat. Tricky starts off as a normal clown, but eventually is killed and is brought back to life by the savior, Jeebus. After this, Tricky becomes a zombie. He then has something implanted in his head called the Improbability Drive, which essentially gives Tricky immense power, allowing him to rip and tear through enemies like it's nothing. Now I know I said I wasn't going to spoil anything, but in order for me to truly tell the story of Tricky, I need to. So eventually, Tricky ends up getting Jeebus' halo and basically becomes a god. He now has numerous upon numerous amounts of little skeleton henchmen who he can command at his will. He can turn the world any way he wants, pull weapons out of nowhere, fly, and do many other things. Now Madness Combat is popular on its own, but it got a huge resurgence when Tricky was made as a mod in Friday Night Funkin' as well. So I'll be pulling stuff from there for songs and whatnot. So now that we have everything discussed, let's get into the moveset. To start things off, Tricky would be a medium weight fighter, weighing in at around the weight of Yoshi. Tricky has no additional movement options. For his neutral attack, I've named it Rapid Clown Punch. Tricky will suddenly throw out intense rapid punches. This ends with Tricky pulling out the street sign and whacking the opponent away with it. This is a reference to Madness Combat 5. For Tricky's neutral aerial, I named it the Street Sign Spin. Tricky will pull out his ever iconic street sign and spin it rapidly. This deals multiple amounts of damage before knocking the opponent away. For his back aerial, he uses Baton Bash. Tricky will pull out a baton and swing it backwards. By the way, each weapon that Tricky uses for his moves is a reference to one he specifically used in the Madness Combat series. Tricky's down air is the Ballistic Shield. Tricky will pull out a ballistic armored shield and slam downwards with it. This does spike.
For his forward air, he'll use Axe Swing. Tricky will pull out a huge axe and swing it forwards. This does spike. For his up air, I named it Lava Ball. Tricky will puke up a huge ball made of lava, and this ball will go in an arc. This is a reference to Madness Accelerant. And for his dash attack, I've chose Skeleton Launch. Tricky will send a skeleton flying in front of him in order to punch.
For his up smash, I've named it Black Hole Bash. Tricky will summon a huge black hole next to him. Out of this black hole will come an unnamed creature from Madness Combat 11. It will send a huge punch upwards. The longer you charge, the longer the punch will go upwards. For Tricky's forward smash, he uses the Street Sign Swing. Tricky will pull out the iconic street sign, of course, that he carries around and whack the opponent with it. For his down smash, I've named it Long Spike Summon. Tricky will have two black holes appear beside him, and then long spikes will summon outwards of them. The longer you charge, the longer the spikes are. This is a reference to Madness Combat 11. For his up special, I've named it Skeleton Soar. Tricky will summon two skeletons to pull him upwards. He will be able to release himself from the skeletons at any time, and this does not put him into free fall. For Tricky's side special, I've named it Skeleton Stone Smash. Tricky will summon a skeleton above him and have it drop a giant stone forwards. This has a 50% chance to bury. This is a reference to Madness Combat 11. For his neutral special, he'll use Liquid Fire. Tricky will spew a white liquid fire onto the ground, dealing damage to anyone who steps on it. This is a reference to Madness Combat 7. For his down special, I named it Black Hole Burial. Tricky will summon a huge black hole and jump into it. For 3 seconds, Tricky cannot be damaged and has the options to send up long spikes or breathe the liquid fire upwards. This has a 10-second recharge after being used. For Tricky's up tilt, I've named it Rapid Jump. Tricky will rapidly jump upwards and use his head to damage the opponent. This is a reference to Madness Combat 5.5. For his down tilt, I've named it Street Sign Sweep. Tricky will use the street sign and sweep it across the ground. And for his forward tilt, I've named it Precision Point. Tricky will sharply point his finger forwards, hurting anyone who's in his way. For his pummel, he will grab you while rapidly shaking. He pummels by biting the opponent. For Tricky's up throw, he will summon a skeleton to fly the opponent upwards and slam them down. For his down throw, Tricky summons a black hole and slams the opponent into it, burying them. For his forward throw, Tricky throws the opponent up and punches them forwards. And for his back throw, Tricky slams the opponent off the ground and then throws them. As for Tricky's gimmicks, I've named the first one Consternation Transformation. When Tricky is over 100%, he will be able to turn into his form as seen in episode 7 of Madness Combat. In this form, he is invincible for 15 seconds and can breathe huge amounts of the liquid white fire and also deliver super hard punches. However, this can only be used once per match and is very slow. Think of it as a last-ditch effort to win. For Tricky's other gimmick, a smaller one, it's his jetpack float. Tricky can pull out his jetpack as seen in the 3rd episode of Madness Combat and hover with it for 3 seconds. Kinda like Peach and Daisy. Now for taunts. For Tricky's side taunt, he will just stand there with red flashing text that just says, "Mind strong," flickering in and out. For his up taunt, a skeleton will appear above Tricky and fly around while Tricky spins around with it. And for Tricky's down taunt, he will pull out his headphones and start listening to the chicken dance and start dancing. For Tricky's alternate costumes, you have the normal alt, which is Zombie Tricky with a bloody mouth, the second alt, which is Zombie Tricky before he had the bloody mouth, the third alt, Masked Tricky, the fourth alt, Train Conductor Hat, which is a reference to Madness Combat episode 6, for his fifth alt, Normal Clown Tricky, for his sixth alt, Grey Tricky, which is a reference to how most Madness Combat characters look, for his seventh alt, White Tricky, reference to his Madness Combat 7 form, and his eighth alt, Zombie Clown Tricky, reference to Madness Combat 9.5. For his entrance animation, the street sign will slide across the battlefield and Tricky will climb up out of the ground. For his victory screens, we will see Tricky standing behind a DJ turntable bopping out to the chicken dance. For his next victory screen, this will show Tricky shaking and rapidly pointing at someone off screen. He then pulls out his street sign and slams it down at the thing off screen. And for his final victory screen, this will show Tricky standing there shaking. Skeletons will then start floating and Tricky will do a peace sign while red text appears on him saying, "Reality compromised." For his victory music, we of course have DJ Birdie's Chicken Dance version 2, and it will be repeating music. And finally, for Tricky's final smash, Tricky will hit the opponent into a black hole using the street sign. In this black hole, Tricky will rapidly punch you. He then transforms into his Madness Combat 7 form and breathes fire on you. This launches you to another area where skeletal Tricky transformation can be seen. He punches you through a wall, transitioning back to the normal battle, and you're sent launching. This final smash is literally just called Madness. Throughout this, red text saying, "Madness, you aren't Hank, and Clown kills you" will be rapidly flashing in and out. Well, that's it for my Tricky moveset. What did you guys think? What would you make for a moveset for Tricky? Let me know in the comments if you'd like. Thank you for watching, and peace out.